Our flora pair has been very productive, and if you have a look at this female, you'll see that attached to her are a bunch of little fry that have been free swimming now for 2 days. So these guys are about 3.5 weeks old at this point, and these are some more flora snakeskin discus. You'll be able to see a really good display of a spawn being taken care of by the parents. Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Keeping Fish Simple. So in today's video, I thought I'd just do a little update on some of the projects that we have going on in the fish room. Now, because I'm so busy with taking care of the fish room, I often don't have time to continually update you guys with what I've been working on, and I've been working on a lot of different things in the fish room lately. I've definitely got one new type of fish that I want to show you guys that I've actually already started to breed, and I've been setting up a bunch of other tanks for breeding things, and I've actually started to have some success. So those two things in particular are the rams and the discus. Now I breed a lot of black rams, and I've just started to focus on my discus again, and I've actually been having a lot of success. So I'm going to flip around the camera and show you guys what I've been working on and just give you guys a quick update of all the things that I wanted to show you. Okay, so we've just switched over to our iPhone camera because this camera seems to work a little bit better for recording these types of videos. I get a lot better quality, and I also get a little bit better audio on the iPhone. So that's a little bit of a plus, but you might notice the room's a little bit grubby at the moment. That's just because I've been packing a ton of orders, and when you pack orders, the place does get a little bit messy. So there's a lot of cleaning up to do, but nonetheless, today we're just gonna focus on the fish. And I think the first thing that I wanna focus on, and the thing that I'm probably most excited about, actually that's not fair because I'm equally excited about both of these things, but the first fish that I'm most excited about are the discus. Now, for you guys who have been following the channel for a little while, you would know that I've been having a little bit of trouble breeding my discus. Now, I bought 2 breeding pairs. Well, I bought a few breeding pairs and I moved some on, and I've only got 2 breeding pairs at the moment. But I've got this pair here. Well, this is the female of the pair, and this is my flora snakeskin pair. And then I've also got over in this tank over here, another pair with an eruption and a tiger turquoise, which I don't have any fry of yet, but these guys should breed again. They haven't bred for quite a bit of time, so that's a little bit annoying. But our flora pair has been very productive, and if you have a look at this female, you'll see that attached to her are a bunch of little fry that have been free swimming now for 2 days. So these guys are all over the side of her, and you might notice that I have taken out the sponge filter in this tank because I noticed that the fry weren't attaching to her properly, and they were going for the sponge filter, which was very dark. So I've taken that out for a couple of days. I'm just doing big manual water changes with RO water until I can bring that sponge filter back in and get these guys onto some baby brine shrimp. But that's not all the discus fry that we have in the fish room. If you come down here and have a look in this tank, you'll notice that we've got another batch. So these guys are about 3.5 weeks old at this point, and these are some more flora snakeskin discus. Now I think I've got about 50 to 60, should be good for growing out. There are going to be a few in here that have stunted fins and things like that. Just genetically, I think, you know, like there's one up the back there you might see that's just not swimming properly, and that's not my fault, that's just the genetics of the fish. You know, these guys are all inbred, and that's just a part of it. But I'm super excited to have these guys all growing out. I've been very diligent on making sure that the flukes don't overtake these guys, because that happened in one of my last batches. So I've been doing treatments with potassium permanganate weekly to make sure that they don't get flukes and pass it on to each other and kill each other. And I have been feeding these little ones some of this beef heart mix that I do make myself, and they've started to eat this really in the last couple of days. They've been eating a lot of baby brine shrimp before that, and I think these little ones have been separated for about 2 weeks now. So I'm very, very excited to have some of these discus growing out. I'm hoping that everything goes well up here with Clementine, that's her name. Hopefully all these babies grow up well and we can grow them all out to big juvenile discus and sell them on. So the reason there's only one female in here is because the male and the female were both bickering. And I think it's because they're a bit of a young pair, but they were bickering, and I thought that they weren't going to focus on taking care of the fry, and it would have just been easier to separate the male out. So the male's over in another tank, and we've just left the female in here with the fry, and everything seems to be working really well. So I did do that with this batch as well. I had to take the male out because he was being too aggressive, and I just brought the pair back together to get the other spawn, and I took the male out. Once Clementine had laid her eggs and he'd fertilized them, I took him out of the tank, and yeah, it seems to be working very well at the moment. So I'm super excited to have lots of these discus in the fish room. The other thing that I've been really trying to focus on and figure out is my ram production in the fish room. So for all you guys who don't know, I actually don't have this fish room at my house. This is at a separate property, and I actually have to drive here every day, and I normally drive here in the morning, go home, and then come back in the afternoon, and that's how I take care of all the fish. Now, breeding rams is something that can be very tricky if you're trying to raise a fry up yourself and hatch the eggs out yourself. especially when you're not here all the time to help feed them. And that's where I was kind of coming undone with my ram production, is I'd get the eggs and I was having no problem spawning the rams, but part of the problem was I wasn't able to actually take care of those rams, and it just wasn't making a lot of sense trying to breed them that way. So I've switched over to a new method of trying to breed the rams where I'm actually just leaving them in with the parents. And I've been setting up a bunch of different ram tanks to try and do this hopefully, and I've set up about 6 tanks and I'm still working on that. And if you come over here to one of our setups, this is the kind of setup that I'm talking about. So what I've been doing is I've been painting the sides of the tank blue. It doesn't matter what color, I've just been choosing lighter colors because I don't want them to be too dark because I'm worried the fry will lose their parents. But I've been painting the sides blue so that they can't see anywhere except for out, so that's why they're going crazy, because they think I'm going to feed them. And then in the aquariums I've been adding a spawning mop just to add like a bit of cover. This also acts as a grounds for creating a lot of infusoria in the tank, so little itty bitty things that the fry can feed on when the parents successfully raise them up. And then adding some spawning sites around the aquarium, not too close to the front, more to the back, because I just feel like it provides the fish with a lot of security because they've got, like, you know, the boarded up sides, and I think that it makes the fish feel really at home. So I've also been adding Indian almond leaves to the tanks. You know, I've been lowering the pH that way, and if you come and have a look in here, we might not be able to see anything here, but there is a spawn from this pair of blue-black rams. You can see the males guarding this leaf, and they've spawned on that leaf, so that's really cool. These guys did spawn last night, so that's really cool to see. But if you come over here as well, in this tank we have another pair of these blue blacks, and this is the male here, and I'm not too sure where the female is, but these guys had a spawn yesterday in this pot behind this spawning mop, so that was really cool to see. And if we move this towel and come and have a look in here, you'll be able to see a really good display of a spawn being taken care of by the parents. This tank hasn't yet been painted, and that's why there's a little bit of glare, because these guys have been so productive and have actually taken care of one of their batches successfully. And I haven't wanted to separate these guys out because I don't want to paint the aquarium and stop them from being successful. So you can see the male here is guarding the 3rd spawn of rams that we had last night, and there's the female as well. And there are hundreds of ram eggs on this rock. So I'm going to go and cover these guys up. I put the towel here just because there's a lot of foot traffic past these guys, and I don't think that they're going to get the cover that they want. So I can just peep in here in the corner because it's not painted and have a look and make sure everything's going okay. But they did have a successful batch of fry, and those guys are over here. So you can see all of the fry inside of this fry box. And my method is with the rams now is to leave them in with the parents and get them onto baby brine shrimp. And then once they're onto that baby brine shrimp size where they can actually just, you know, be left for a little bit longer and aren't as fragile, I then move them on into these breeder boxes, and you can see the first successful batch that we've had here. So I'm not too sure how many there are in here. You can see there's some blue ones and there's some black ones, but you can see now we're really gonna be able to pick up the production and hopefully make hundreds and hundreds of these guys and sell them all to the wholesalers and to the stores and everything like that. But this method has seemed to work really well. I don't think I'm ever gonna change it, and it's made it so much more easy to breed the rams, and it's something that I definitely would recommend. So I'm continuing to try and, you know, paint all the sides of the tanks and get all those tanks set up, but I'm really excited to finally have an easy way to breed these rams in the fish room. Yes, I do also have my Dark Knight pairs as well. These guys have been taking a little bit longer to figure out how to breed properly, but nonetheless, they will figure it out eventually. There's a female here that's almost ready to go again, and this male, he's seems pretty eager. And these two over here haven't had their tank painted yet because they did have a spawn, and if you have a look up the back in this little pot, you'll see there's like 1 or 2 fry in here now. I haven't decided to paint this tank yet because I thought that they would take care of their fry a little bit better. It seemed that when I came in here there was only a few eggs, so I just left them in here, but once they eventually eat these guys or take care of them, I don't know what they're going to do. I will be taking the pair out and painting the tank and getting it set up properly. Another thing quickly that I want to share about the rams before we move on is the importance of the lighting in the tank. Now, I've been talking about this in some of my live streams, and basically what I mean by lighting is having the light on during the night time, because what accidentally happened was in one of my tanks I left the light on and I didn't realize it was on 24/7, and it was the only rack of tanks where I was actually having success with the parents taking care of the fry, and that was with the Discus and the rams. And I decided to switch on all of the lights back on, and I've actually been having a lot more success with the rams, just keeping the lights on 24/7. So I don't think it affects them too much. They do end up getting some sleep, but I think if the lights go off at night, it gets too dark and they just go to sleep, and then when they wake up, they get confused and they just eat their babies or something like that. So leaving the lights on is a really good option, especially for breeding dwarf cichlids. So I've been doing that now. I only leave it on the breeding tanks, and it doesn't seem to affect the fish in any way. They still breed normally, they still behave normally and they still eat really well and grow really well. So the only con is algae, but if you add a bristlenose to your tank, it's a really good dither and it'll also take care of all that algae. And yeah, it was just a really good way of helping the parents to take care of their babies. So I've also just recently, in the last couple of days, added a new species to the fish room. And I've actually kept this species before in this fish room, but I wasn't having any success, and I've decided to give it another crack. And this is with the Apistogramma Agassizii fire golds. Now, these guys are highly sought after Apistogramma in my area, and I saw the local fish store got some in, and I just couldn't help myself. So I've added 2 pairs to this tank. You can see I've painted the sides blue, and I've set it up with a ton of botanicals in here, so a bunch of leaves and things like that, and 2 coconut hides, and you can see a beautiful male right there in the middle of the screen. So that's one of our male Apistogrammas, and there's 2 males in here. They kind of compete for each other's side of the tank. So there's one up the back of the tank, and then there's one that kind of monitors the front of this tank. Now, if you look in here, you'll see there's a coconut cave, and inside of that coconut cave is a female. And I hadn't even had these guys for 24 hours, and these guys had already spawned. So she's in there taking care of some eggs. I'm hoping that she's going to do a good job taking care of them. I'm not going to take them out of the cave. I'm just going to leave them in there with her until she brings them out, and then I'll strip the fry. But it seems like they're all fertilized, which is awesome. So that's really good to see. So she's in there in the front cave taking care of those eggs. And then here's the male, I think, that fertilized those eggs. But there's also a male and female somewhere up the back here, and I actually think they're in the cave, maybe breeding. So if you have a look from the top down, I'm looking at the back cave, and I did see 2 fish in that cave. And I think that might actually be some spawning going on, so that's really cool. There's a few things that I did to this tank to hopefully have success this time. You can see just a massive amount of leaf litter in this aquarium. There's eucalyptus leaves, there's Indian almond leaves, there's gum nuts in here, and there's a ton of driftwood. And I've added a piece of driftwood like across the aquarium to divide the aquarium, because I think last time they could see each other and it just wasn't like their natural environment. So this is heavily mimicking their natural environment. I've also added some of this guppy grass in here just to help with the creation of infusoria for the fry. And yeah, it seems to be working really well so far. I do think with dwarf cichlids having the painted sides of the tank, it really does help them to feel secure. Just with any cichlid, I actually think that it does help quite a lot. So that's been a massive improvement and helped with a lot of my success, or moderate success at least, with these fish. Now there's obviously a ton of other projects going on in the fish room, and there's just way too many things to cover in this video. I'm still doing most of the things that I've been doing in my previous videos, so don't worry if I didn't cover it in this video. I still will likely be making videos of it in the future. And if there's anything you want me to cover, put it in the comments down below and I'll definitely consider it. And also, like I always say, if you guys have any advice for me as well with some of the things that I'm doing, please drop it down below as well. Any advice is massively appreciated. Like I always say, I'm not a genius and I don't know everything. So having you guys come in and give me some of your advice with your experience really does help to have some success with some of the projects that I've got going on here. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I just wanted to quickly show you guys some of the things I got going on with the discus and the rams and the apistos, which I'm very excited to show you guys, and I really wanted to show you, and that's why I've made this video. So thank you so much for watching it, guys. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.